Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Ronnie Morse, and you're watching Hot Nuggets. This is a show with hot questions and even hotter nuggets. And today we're joined here by Slade Morgan.
Thank you.
Yeah, he spent 12 years on the Navajo Reservation in Pinon, Arizona, where he started off teaching 10th grade English for several years before becoming the principal of Pinon High School. He moved to Round Valley 10 years ago and soon became the principal of Round Valley High School before becoming the superintendent. So welcome,
Thank you,
Slade.
Ronnie. What an introduction. I don't think I've had an introduction like that ever before.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah.
Good. So, yeah, great to have you on this first show or first episode of probably the first and last.
And what did you call it? Chicken?
Hot Nuggets.
Hot Nuggets.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, got some nuggets
so I
here.
ordered these on my app.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So I've learned at the middle school, it's all about the apps. And talking to Principal Muth and Selena down there, they're really big on using the apps.
I mean, I use Sonic app all the time.
Yeah.
I guess just real quick, how are you with hot sauces in general? Do you ever use them?
Well,
I don't.
unless I'm like eating rice and stuff, but you know, if it's really hot, then I start hiccuping. I do know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
These first ones, I wouldn't even, like, I don't know, maybe the first three.
Okay.
Barely hot at
Yeah,
all.
this one says barbecue, so I'm
Yeah,
curious.
yeah, sweet barbecue sauce. So, yeah, I guess we can just get started real quick. All right. So, yeah, we'll start off. Whoa.
Oh, it's ready.
Oh, there's
Give me a little
Okay.
dab there. All right.
all right, I mean, this is just like barbecue sauce.
Okay.
Yeah. It's got a little,
Soy saucy.
yeah, like a soy sauce barbecue. I'm not sure if I like it.
My wife likes soy sauce. She cooks a lot of Asian type food, so
Oh, okay.
I'm very used to that flavor.
All right. You've been in education for a while now. What's one policy that you've seen come and go that you wish had stuck around?
You know, right now we're dealing with a lot of chronic absences, and you know, since COVID, I think that there's definitely been a change in student absenteeism. Being a former high school principal, we always had the 10%. You had to miss fewer than 10% of the school year, otherwise you potentially lose credit. So since COVID, we've been meeting with students. Hey, your attendance is getting out of control. But this year, we're bringing back, you can't miss any more than 10%,
Oh,
or
okay.
you'll lose your credit. So
Oh,
excited to see if the higher expectations really will speak to a lot of the students and how we can maybe transfer that across the whole district.
I think that's awesome. I hope have the students, I guess, and the teachers, like, just help them realize how important education is in general. I like what you got.
Well, I think it translates a lot to getting a job or whatever you choose to do, that you got to be consistent and be there. Things are bound to happen. People get sick, emergencies happen, but overall, you know, we got to be consistent. Just showing up, that's step one. Showing up.
Yeah. Just watched a video today about where consistency is probably one of the hardest things people can do. And so it's good to start off young, I guess. All right. So next we got, I guess I got them here. The Louisiana Red Cayenne.
That's more my style. I like the Cajun stuff.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that's you on you. Like, I'm like, oh, no, yeah, I'm not sure how much you want. So, you know, I just
It's definitely not as thick as the
I'm
last
a
one.
little hungry.
Got like red pepper. Definitely the cayenne taste of.
All right. So there's a lot of talk about the 21st century learning. What's one buzzword or phrase you hear all the time that secretly drives you nuts?
Buzzword or phrase?
Might have to take another hot sauce before I think of something. I don't know. You know, No Child Left Behind, that was a big one. when I first got into education. And, that worked great politically, I think, and for teachers, not so much, just with the amount of regulations and testing that still is kind of a part of even our laws today, facing education.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's head on to our third one. Sriracha.
I just like that name, Sriracha.
It sounds really good.
It sounds like we need to dance or something.
Sriracha.
I mean, I can.
Can you
get
dance?
I'll get the camera and follow you around.
No.
I might be dancing depending on how hot it is.
Yeah,
That's
these
not
are.
coming out very good.
Oh, yeah.
These aren't too bad.
No.
All right, here we go.
Very garlicky.
Yeah. It's got like a splash of heat on it, but kind of gets smothered away. All right. When you first took on the role of superintendent, what was one part of the job you thought you understood, but totally didn't?
I think when I first came on, it was the year after COVID. And the funny thing about COVID was, it didn't really get worse until it felt like 6 months or 8 months after, and we were just dealing with tremendous amount of sickness in the building. Folks that decided that they wanted to be somewhere else, and teachers that left mid-year. I think in one particular classroom at the middle school, we had went through like 5 teachers in 5th grade. The year before when I was principal there. And so I think I didn't anticipate how hard it was going to be to find people to fill vacancies. So whether in the classroom, bus drivers, I mean, that had been an issue for a long time. Just various positions where our enrollment grew for a period and then took a pretty dramatic decline, but I think that was one thing I didn't anticipate how hard it was going to be.
All right, what do we got next? The jalapeno pepper sauce.
This is you like the green stuff.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's this one, put a little extra on there. I like that stuff.
And it's got xanthan gum. Why would they put gum in this?
Yeah, make it a little chewy.
I like that. Vinegary.
Yeah. All right. Oh, let's talk about some school lunches. If you had to eat one cafeteria meal every day for a month, what would your go-to meal be?
I like country style, so in anything, just vegetables, meatloaf, anything like that. Classic down home type stuff.
All right.
One thing I always appreciate about Joe's hamburger and stuff, it actually tastes like hamburger.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was a kid, my school lunch always had like that soy. It just didn't taste like real meat. Kind of.
Oh, I totally understand. And as a kid though, I guess I didn't have as great of a palate. I'd always just go for those square pizzas.
Yeah?
Like
The rectangles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I'm with you.
All right, this next one, it's not hot.
Okay.
It is interesting though. It is the black truffle hot sauce.
What exactly is a truffle?
It is a fancy type of mushroom.
Okay.
So I can already smell it. Holy moly. I tried this on a burger and it's probably pretty good there. Like, couldn't tell, but.
All right, up we go.
Very mushroomy tasting.
Yeah, very aromatic.
Yeah.
Just like coming out my nose. All right. So if you've got a surprise snow day, no meetings, no emergencies, what's your guilty pleasure activity where you suddenly get the day off?
Skiing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a snow day. Perfect time for that. Yeah.
So if we had our druthers, we'd go up to Sunrise. We'd probably get, I get a season pass. We'd probably go up there if there's, snow during the winter. We're probably there probably 40, 45 days out of the.
Oh wow, that's really good.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Not during work days, but if it was a snow day, that's where I'd be.
Is there 45 off days? Oh, no.
Yeah, hey, 4-day week.
That's true. Okay.
And then on vacations,
Yeah, I guess you got some long ones in the winter.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what's her name. The habanero.
Yeah.
This one.
How about like Chipotle restaurant? Do you like Chipotle? The restaurant Chipotle?
Yeah, I think it's got some pretty good food. Hold on. Let's go with mustard. Yeah, this is gonna shoot all over. Must be a little chunky.
Good. Don't want to come out.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm wearing glasses, but I feel
Yeah.
like I have to protect my eyes
All right.
just in case.
Here we go.
All right.
Wow, that is sweet. Sweet and a little spicy.
All right. For school board meetings in general, has there been one where you feel like you wish you might have kind of steered in a better direction or anything?
Yeah, many.
Oh.
Probably. Yeah, one thing I appreciate about our board is that they are all about communication and talking with each other, being real, being real with whether it's the public or staff members that are here, and I think that takes a certain amount of trust to be able to be real with people, and while maybe deep down it'd be nice to like steer things in a way where it's brought down a couple notches or whatnot. But I do believe that sometimes to get to where we need to be, we have to have those conversations where maybe it gets a little aggressive, gets a little loud, but as long as we're talking respectfully, I think that there are certain meetings questions get posed where I wish I had the answers just automatically, and I find myself oftentimes, a lot of times, I'll get back to you, and I do.
I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, people are expecting you to know, but I mean, there's just so much to know. It's just hard. I feel like it'd be to just know everything off the top of your head. So
I would say if we're being real, like another thing about me that I know is sometimes I get cracked up really easily, and so there are certain times, and I know this might make me sound unprofessional or whatever, where there's just something that happens or whatnot, and I'll find myself cracking up.
Has that ever happened in the midst of like somebody talking in a very serious manner?
Yes.
But,
yeah. And so I'll bite my cheek or cover the laugh into a sneeze or something along those lines. And please don't take it like I'm intentionally like laughing at somebody or anything. Usually it's a situation or whatnot where it's just kind of like, this is really happening.
Alrighty. So the next one is another one of my, I guess, go-tos or something.
It's another green one.
Yeah, fire roasted jalapeno and garlic. Man, why are there like?
I don't know. I can feel my sinuses are starting to loosen up a bit here. So
It must be getting hotter. All right, down the hatch.
that was a good one.
Yeah, that was really good. So every superintendent has a moment where they think, "Why did I sign up for this?" So what was yours, and what pulled you through it?
I think in terms of why I signed up for it, I mean, anytime I start to think that way, I steer it back to the kids. And, I do certain things to make sure that I'm out there talking with them and interacting with them, because a lot of times that's what brings me back to homeostasis. So whether it's doing the crosswalk, just being in the buildings, driving the bus, I'm like, okay, this is what it's about. So, because it's too often that a crazy phone call or a demand or the budget, anything like that. And it's just like you can go down this hole of like, seriously, like, oh my gosh, this is an impossible thing that we're trying to do. And we're working with other people. It's nothing like I ever come to myself and just be like, oh, I know the answer to this and I can figure this out. Now, I may say that to people, but I hope we have a good enough relationship where they're like, Slade, you need to stop talking right now. Because sometimes that can be a little bit too much, I know. But at the same time, I think that's no matter what job you have, like you got to have the why and like talk yourself off the ledge a little bit, because otherwise you're just going to go, like, this is not worth it.
All right.
We adopted new policies, but in our former policies that we had, there was always one that stood out to me and said that, every decision that you make in the best interest of kids. And so, we think through those lenses with everything that we do. I'm not making this decision for the betterment of me or the betterment of my fellow employee. We're doing it because of the kids. And I think we run into that sometimes, like, well, this makes me more comfortable, or this is going to work out better for us. But actually, we need to look through the lens of what's better for kids. And there could be a lot of opinions about what's better for kids, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, we have to use that, as the calculation for our actions. Yeah. Calculations of our actions.
Yeah.
Boy, I pulled that one out, didn't I?
Yeah. So it must be all that experience you've been getting.
Yeah, you don't need ChatGPT to sound poetic. There you go.
Alrighty. So
They're warming up, Ronnie.
Yeah, this one, I don't know, might be another break. It's another habanero mustard.
I'm normally a mustard guy, but I don't know if I like these mustards.
I mean, I feel like this brings a lot of, I don't know if sweetness is the word, but.
All right. No.
Sweet.
Not my favorite.
Is it the mustard you don't like?
I think it's the color too. Kind of looks like baby food. Just put that on
mental
food.
Game there,
Yeah.
So what's a moment in the past year when you had to make a decision that made you unpopular, but you still stand by it 100%?
Well, I think the last month, I think with all the budget cuts, I mean that's been what stands out the most.
All right.
And working with our principals and other departments, just saying, hey, with our student enrollment the way it is, it's declining, and just like any business, we our staff has to match, basically the student enrollment, which is basically our revenue going forward. And so how do you go about, deciding, who's going to stay? And, I sent out an email, it's probably been over a month ago right now, that just kind of explained, those tough decisions. And it's not that anybody's did anything wrong or whatnot, but the fact is, I mean, that's just the current situation, that we have to match our student enrollment size. So probably made me unpopular, and rightfully so. And in the email I said, I own it, but that's ultimately just where we got to go.
I mean,
to stay in budget.
Yeah, sometimes there's unfortunate necessities. It reminds me of a conversation I had with Merrill, where, I mean, the guy's been around a while, seen lots of things.
I know this.
But he was just telling me that, it isn't the first time that we've had to take a dip in, staffing and stuff, and it does fluctuate, and so he's, I guess, predicting that it'll just be another little wave of, we're on the downhill right now, but soon it'll be going back up.
Yeah, we had something similar. 2008. There was, the state budget for education was cut tremendously, which I was up on the res at that time, and then just periods from then on where raises were froze, and then there's probably a cycle to it. It just sucks whenever you're living it in the moment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Now
as
we
you
got the hot stuff.
can definitely tell, it's my favorite.
Ronnie
one.
likes the Chipotle.
Yeah, it's. Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's like
I
little
am not
barbecue
getting that
sauce.
much. You dump the whole thing on there. All right, I'm gonna go for that much. All right.
All right.
Here we go. How many stars is this? How many flames? 3 flamers. That was good.
That was a really nice flavor. If you could sit every critic of public education down and make them understand one thing, what would that one thing be?
I would say not just a critic of public education, but critics of anything, is that our society right now is just so polarized with it's either all or nothing. Like when somebody's speaking on a topic, maybe it's either all good or all bad, and I think anybody that goes day to day through anything knows that simply, yes, there are things that are all good and all bad, but we are just so quick to jump on one train or the other, and really systematically and critically talking about things is way more complicated than just saying, wow, these few events happen, so this must be bad. In the negative stuff always is so much easier to communicate to people than the good stuff. It just hits a lot harder. But I'm not going to avoid your question about public education.
All right, no,
I think that what I would say is that our staff works extremely hard for kids, and I feel like I get around to the buildings and see our teachers and see our custodians and all of our support staff, working together as a team, for the kids, for the public's children. And I think that gets glossed over by certain hot topics that are out there against public education, such as, critical race theory and DEI is a big one right now. Oftentimes these are the buzz phrases or whatever to get people angry about bullies. Bullies is another big one, and I'm not saying that to say that we don't have it going on, but since the dawn of time, kids have been mean to each other. And there's always more that we can do and help and support situations, but at the same time, there's more that parents can do to help and support in situations, and probably more so than a school can do. What you choose to focus on is what the reality becomes. So if you choose to focus on there's so much harassment and bullying going on, which maybe there are some things going on, but also don't forget to overlook the hardworking staff members in the building, that your kid had a great time on a field trip or provided other extracurricular opportunities. So that's what I would say.
All right. Oh yeah. So another fire roasted garlic and habanero.
All right.
It's
Is it a 4-flamer?
yes, I believe so. Oh, I dropped that. All right.
Here we go.
I do really like
Oh,
that
yeah.
flavor.
That's been the most potent so far.
So, what is one initiative or decision that you've made that you still lose sleep over, or at least used to?
Wasn't when I was superintendent.
Oh.
And I don't know that I lose sleep over it. I just think it was a super dumb one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That happens.
So
Very relatable.
well, when I was split between the middle school and the high school as principal, I went to the middle school and decided it would be okay for the kids to use phones during recess
Oh, okay.
and in between classes. Yeah. And middle schoolers should not be trusted to use a phone during the school day.
Okay, just that also.
Yeah. and I think we had done it for so long at the high school where you didn't want kids to use them during instructional time, but you know, passing period, they're leaving, whatever, you know, use your phone, whatever. But definitely for middle schoolers, like they will find the most wrong purpose to use something, and so we had quite a few fights that were getting, you know, videoed. Not to say that still couldn't happen. I think a lot of the social media type bullying stuff, I think it, you know, so I'll take the blame for that one. But thankfully we got Principal Muth over there righting the ship from whenever I used to run the place. Trinidad Scorpion. All right, this is going to be hot.
Yeah. That's really nice.
That's pretty hard headed. I can taste the scorpion. It's gonna sting in my tongue.
Yeah, that one is kind of just like covering tongue completely. So, in the spirit of hot nuggets, what's the hottest issue in education right now that nobody seems to want to touch? What do you think needs to be addressed head on?
Artificial intelligence.
Oh yeah, that's
So I use AI a lot in my job. I mean, it's been great for, you know, basic stuff. Of course, when I think I've been using it now for about like 2 years, I feel, you know, the obvious one is like helping to create documents and stuff like that. But just analyzing, you know, documents and trying to kind of game plan situations. You know, we're adults and we've been through school. I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on all the basic, you know, writing and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for a kid, like to know that, okay, I can input this and get, you know, my assignment done rather quickly. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of our teachers are aware and for the most part could say, hey, Johnny hasn't done anything all year long, and all of a sudden they got the big project and it's, you know,
immaculate.
it's great, you know, a beautiful mind just over the weekend. But, you know, how do we use it? Because it ain't going away.
Yeah,
I mean, I found it extremely helpful. The state has come out with a handbook to try and help integrate AI into instruction. So I think we're scratching the surface of it, but still everybody's kind of looking around like, I feel like it. Right now, I use a paid version of it, and so it's memorizing everything as it's going along, and so it's able to use recall as it analyzes maybe a situation and just the thinking power of it all. I think people worry like, oh, okay, well, I guess we don't have to think anymore.
Yeah.
A way I look at it right now is, you know, we used to walk everywhere, so we could still walk home. You do walk home from here. Look out in the parking lot. Everybody's driving a car. Why? Because it's faster. It's more efficient. We can go more places. And I feel with AI, with our thinking, we can go faster. We can do more things. And so I think instead of just being afraid of, oh, it's going to take over the world and it's a cheat, you know, well, I don't feel cheated when I get in my little blue car and I drive home. I could walk, but it's just more efficient to do it. Now, that being said, you know, our students right now, they're learning to walk in a lot of ways. And I think it would be not good for them just to get in a car and just drive home if they don't know the steps, you know, the rules of the road, which I don't even know. If I know the rules of the road to AI right now, we're all kind of pioneers in it. But anyway.
So, all right. Looks like we're down to the Butte Holokia Ghost Pepper Hot Sauce.
Ooh.
This one, I feel like had a really good flavor as well.
He's loading it up.
It's the last dab. Just kidding.
That's all I'm gonna do. Here we go.
All right.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers. Oh, that is so good.
Butte Jolokia Ghost Pepper. That was not bad.
So, final nugget and final question. When your time as superintendent is over, how do you hope students, just like not staff and board members, but how do you hope students will remember your legacy?
I really hope they don't. That's one of the good things that going around is the staff know who I am, and some of the high schoolers know who I am. Yeah. But I like the anonymity of just walking around, and to those kids, everyone is kind of on the same playing field. Whether it's a custodian or an aide, everyone kind of holds the same rank as the teacher. What I hope is that the decisions that we've made here, impact their lives positively, and they can take that with them. So whatever, oftentimes we run into teachers that, maybe they want to be the cool teacher and they want, gosh, I hope that they, remember me when they go forward. And I think as educators, whatever lessons we're able to teach those kids, hopefully they remember that and take that with them. If they do remember, because most of the time they're probably going to remember something funny that happened, or they'll remember those times. But no, I don't have any. I'm good. I don't need anybody to reflect and be like, Mr. Morgan. Yeah.
Remember that policy that he did when I was in middle school? Man, that was great.
Yeah.
Cell phones and then
just like write down. Or like you, I don't think back to my high school principal or my superintendent.
I don't even remember their names.
I don't either. I would hope that my kids, the students, they're living their life and they're locked into that, and they're for the most part happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely for sure. So, man, thank you very much.
Thank you, man. This has been epic. And the ghost pepper, it's kind of lingering just a little bit.
Yeah,
it feels like it tattooed my tongue just a little bit.
Yeah. It's hung around the most.
Yeah.
All right, so look at you taking on these nuggets of death. Thank you for telling your tale. And so now there's nothing left to do but roll out the red carpet. I guess no longer that camera, but this camera or these cameras. Tell the people what you want them to take away from this year.
Looking back on this past year, and it does feel like each year has its own share of difficulties, trials, and tribulations, but ultimately every person in this district has made a difference for a kid. I'm sure each one of us can think of a time when our actions, we're there to serve, and through that service, helped a kid, and that's what we're here to do.
Man, very beautiful way to end. Thank you very much, Slade.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. I hope to see you interview some of our other awesome staff.
Yeah, I don't mind free wings, and I love hot sauce. So
I kind of went cheap on the wings.
Oh yeah, well, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. Well, cool, man.
So,
thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for joining me.